Ready? I smile. I just took a screenshot.
Okay. Me and my nerdy glasses. This is all good. This is how I roll. I'm very
This is
loosey-goosey.
about confidence and being
Confident.
ourselves. Got
Exactly.
this.
Okay.
So,
But
oh,
see,
you
like,
can.
it's see,
It
it's
says
it's like recording. Let's
it's
delete
live on
that.
Facebook.
Oh, okay, here we go.
You see it on your Facebook?
Yeah, but do you see how it's like nothing, it's not continuing? So I think we have to do the recording and then go live. What do you
Oh no,
think?
it's on. Oh,
Isn't
it is. And
it? Okay. So
it's going to be a little delayed, but after some technical difficulties, yeah,
after some difficulties, I see there's a few people on. Anyway, welcome everybody to the first episode of the C.R.O.W.N Effect, Creating Success Through Self-Confidence. I am Tara Hooper, your hostess with the mostest, and your Mrs. Texas United World. So you're going to have to forgive me because I'm a little technologically challenged, but I'm going to get better at this as the year goes on. Join me every week for the C.R.O.W.N Effect. What my goal is through my year as Mrs. Texas United World is to instill self-confidence from the inside out for all you ladies and gentlemen out there. And I'm very, very excited about my first guest. I met Miss Hannah through pageantry. So for those of you who kind of wonder why a grown woman would do pageants, I would say one of it is not only the self growth that we get out of it, but the amazing, and I mean, I'm talking amazing women that we meet through pageantry. And Miss Hannah, who's graciously offered to be my first guest, is one of them. I'm going to read a little bit about this amazing woman. I met Hannah, I think, probably 5-6 years ago at Mrs. Texas International, and have absolutely been, floored by everything that she has done personally and throughout her pageantry. She's got a little girl named Mia. She's been married to her husband, Ryan, who's a high school principal. She is actually a former teacher. So kudos to you, Hannah, because I know that is a lot of work. I actually homeschool my kids 2 days a week. So girl,
yeah.
she's been very passionate about NAMI, which we're going to talk about today. And they loved her so much that they said, we don't want you to volunteer anymore. We want you to actually come work for us. And so now she is working for them and their team. Now, this beautiful lady, like me, has been competing in pageantry longer than we can remember, like I think for her, 20 years.
Yeah.
And again, like me, we probably, I don't know, Hannah, have had more not wins than wins. Is that
Absolutely. That's so true. It's like, I can't even tell you how true it is. Yeah. Talk about a journey.
A journey. And I talked about that last week, after I had won, how, this didn't come easy. This is, for me, 7 years of competing in Texas, multiple fourth runner-ups, a first runner-up here and there, interview award, yada, 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 to finally take away the crown amongst amazing women who all would have been awesome title holders. So to be recognized as the diamond that night is such an amazing accomplishment. Now, my darling Hannah, she started off as International Junior Ms. Texas, and went on recently to win the national title, which is quite a feat.
Yeah, it was really exciting.
I saw it. You were like,
this was my reaction when I thought about my dream reaction. This was not it, but it was great. And I had my mask on, so it was really indicative of the times. And yeah, I love it.
Yeah, we'll be looking back at these videos because we had to wear masks too. And I get you, like, you guys have all heard the term ugly crier. not from a soul perspective, but from a physical perspective, I'm an ugly winner. Like I looked at I'm like, I am a fool, but I was so genuinely happy that that was just all of that coming out. I'm like, oh, but it's not pretty. I'm not that elegant winner. Like, oh, I'm what? No, I'm
Yeah, I didn't do that either. And I mean, you talk about losses. I mean, there have been so many. So you'd think by now I would know how to win
to be
because
gracious
you
to
see
pretty winner.
so many. Yeah, you see so many people doing such like, oh, you're like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy for them because of their reaction. And then,
Yeah, and then we do it, and we're like, oh gosh.
ooh, okay.
So anyway, while we have a small audience, and I hope it builds, the reason I am here is because I know that from my experience, self-confidence in women is the absolute number one way to success. And a lack of self-confidence comes in a lot of different ways. And I'll be sharing my struggle later on down the line. About body image issues and things like that hindered my self-confidence. But I realized it comes in different packages and it comes in different demons for different people. And that's why I was so excited about having you as a guest, because I want you to share a little bit about your journey and how that hindered your self-confidence, but also what you did to overcome it and regain your sense of self, regain that self-confidence, be able to share that with our listeners so that if they've gone through the same thing you have, they've got some golden nuggets that they can take away and say, wow, that was me. And I can use that to help rebuild my self-confidence because I went through this too. And that's the whole purpose of the crown effect. It's confidence revealed on women now, creating success through self-confidence. So Hannah, kind of share your journey with me, please, and
Sure.
what you're passionate about.
So I'm going to start with, I'm going to give you my story in just a second, but I do want to say about confidence. It's so important. Like there are people like you who help bring confidence to others because, and I don't know if you remember this, but at the very first pageant that I ever met you, it was my very first misses. I didn't actually have a gown that fit me. I had to borrow one from someone. And I was so frightened that entire experience. It was my first Mrs. Pageant. I had a lot going on. I barely made it without a gown. And there I was. It was you and I were sitting in the back and we were watching all the top 5 and we were holding hands. And that moment of friendship and that moment of like, oh my gosh, this woman beside me who's so beautiful, so wonderful, like likes me and sees something in me. Like that was such a confidence booster. So then I started seeing other pageants and I was like, my friend, and it was really helpful because it helped me feel more confident every time I saw you there. I just knew that I had someone who cared enough about me, regardless of the competition, to stand next to me and hold my hand in those moments of like, oh, we're just going to hang out here on stage for a long time.
We got this.
So I had to start with that because you started with how we met and I just wanted to tell you about that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so for me, confidence is a journey. I'm still on it. I still have moments where, and I think we all do, where I can really get into my feels and then I can come back out and I can feel confident by doing certain things. And so when I was a really young girl, we moved to a small town in Texas and I started getting bullied for the color of my skin. And I realized that, well, first I realized I was brown. Who knew? And then I get there and everyone's telling me.
Brown girls.
Yeah. And then I realized that, I can't take this off. And I wanted to. And I begged my mom, can I please be, white like my sister? Because my sister's really light skinned. Can I please have blonde hair and blue eyes? I wanted all of these things that I thought I was supposed to have in order to be a person that was likable because they seemed to not like me because of the color of my skin. Oh, yeah. So this started at about age 5 or 6, which is really, I mean, I was already a shy kid. Y'all, if those of you who know me, sometimes you'll see me, I'm really outgoing. Other times I'm very introverted and shy. And that's just kind of my personality. I was an extremely shy kid. Didn't even eat in front of my family. So.
And let me step in for a second, because I know there's some listeners out there. I want that to resonate with you ladies, because I know that it's so easy to have comparison syndrome. Um, I do it all the time. And I know some of you ladies out there are like, oh, you're all a bunch of beauty queens. You know what? This is just a way for us to express ourselves. And we have that same comparison syndrome. You know, Hannah's saying, gosh, I wish I was white and I was blonde and blue eyes. And when I kid you not, every time I step on the pageant stage, I'm like, oh, I wish I was the 6 foot tall, you know, skinny blonde. We have that comparison syndrome, even though we're stepping on the stage in, you know, 6-inch stilettos and heels. And so I really want to make that clear, because I know there's a lot of misconceptions about pageantry and what we're made of. But trust me, we have that negative rhetoric going on in our head, just like all of you. We just manifest and choose to challenge ourselves in different ways through pageantry. So continue on, Hannah.
Yeah. So no, I mean, you're so right. I mean, from there, you know, I was getting bullied and I was going through a lot of personal stuff in my life. My parents were divorced. We had alcoholism happening, and there was just a lot going on. And by the fourth grade, I was experiencing and showing signs of having an anxiety disorder, but no one really knew. And so I wasn't actually diagnosed until my early 20s. I'd gone through a lot of trying to self-heal in a really negative way. We call those negative coping skills throughout my time. But the one positive coping skill that I had, the one positive that I had in my life was pageantry. I mean, I started doing it when I was 14. I went through a lot of losses. I never won. In fact, I didn't really win a title until I won my state title for this pageant. I had competed that many times. And it wasn't about winning. It was about the journey, the people that I met, the person that I found inside. That was what I was reaching for. And so my very first pageant, shyest girl ever. I walk in there. It's in San Antonio at a Hyatt, I remember. And I sit down next to someone and I start talking to them. I'm like, hi, my name's Hannah. And I'm just awkward, but I'm talking. And I go around to the next person. Hi, my name's Hannah. I'm so excited to be here. This is my first pageant. And I keep doing that. By the end of the pageant weekend, I got the Miss Personality Award. So that's like their Miss Congeniality, which was amazing. And kind of brings me to my first, like, you know, we had talked about like, what kind of 3 things did you do to help you build confidence? And it really, this kind of brings me to my first one, is that kindness is a vulnerability and it's a choice. And when I was in school and I was struggling because I was getting bullied, I stopped being kind to other people because I didn't want them to be unkind to me. And I didn't want to put myself out there in that way to be put down. And so when I went to these pageants, the real me got to shine through, and I got to be kind to people and connect with people. And so kindness and connectivity has been one of the things that's helped me build my confidence the most. And that's one of the reasons why it didn't matter if I won or not. I just kept going and going and going.
But it does feel good to win, right? Like,
oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, yes, it does.
I don't want anybody, any woman, to ever apologize if they work hard and have a genuine heart and they win at a pageant, they get that promotion at work, they're, you know, best mom of the year. You know, it's okay. I think women too, we self-sabotage thinking, oh, we're not supposed to, I don't want to say boast, because we're not trying to be boastful, but it's okay to pat yourself on the back and go, I won. And I worked really hard for this. And it could be a pageant, like I said, a promotion. Girls, ladies, you deserve it. And that's what we need to be teaching our daughters too. It's okay to say, I won. I worked the hardest and was the best that day. You know, it's kind of like football saying any given Sunday, the results can change, but it's okay to like relish in that accomplishment.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And I think that reaching your goals and, you know, having dreams and getting those successes, so important. And that is a confidence builder in and of itself as well. I mean, there's definitely a piece of confidence that goes into, look how persistent and resilient I was. And look at what has happened. It just builds your confidence to continue on and to continue to do it. So I totally understand that aspect of it as well. And much like you know, you had said on your video that you have this crown, it is for everyone out there. This crown that you had just received was for everyone. And I'm doing something very similar where it's like, my win is, I'm hoping, is everyone's gain. I want to continue to promote other Ms. as well and other Misses in the community, because that is how we continue to grow as women and continue to connect as women. We just got to lift each other up. I mean, that's my idea.
Let me ask you something, Hannah, before we continue, because I don't want my show to be all, sunshine and roses, because it's not. I know a lot of people are hurting, especially when that self-confidence has been decimated. I think there's a lot of times where we're just like, wow, I just got ran over by a truck, and
Right.
that self-confidence truck just boom ran right over me. And so I want to kind of rip the Band-Aid off a little bit, if you're okay with that,
Totally.
with your struggles and the mental health things that you were going through. What was that low point or that low feeling in your self-confidence? Like, what kind of paint a small picture of that? Because my whole point of this show is for someone to go, oh my gosh, that's me. That's me right now.
Well,
My
I mean,
gosh, inspiration. Like, I want
yeah.
to get to that grit, like, what was that for you?
So, I mean, I don't often talk about this, but I'll be completely honest that when I was in high school, I started drinking because that's what I had seen in my home. And that's how I felt that I could relate to people. I was so extremely shy. I didn't know how to feel comfortable around other people. And I didn't know how to feel comfortable in my own skin. And so I went to a completely dark place. I was by that point diagnosed with depression, just not with anxiety, which was a huge piece of my puzzle. And then when I went to college, I came back to visit some friends and I was sexually assaulted. And that was a really hard point. And when I went to the hospital for what they term a rape kit, the police officer looked at me and he said, well, you shouldn't have been drinking. And that was such a hard low point for me, because ultimately what I took away from that conversation was, you did this to yourself and you deserve it. To think that all the bad things in your life or all the things that you've done was a conscious choice, that you did it. If you made this one wrong turn, then you deserved everything bad that is a really hard thing to continue to live with. It makes it hard to do everything from as small as, making toast to like parenting, because you're thinking, if I don't do this in the right way, in the correct steps every single time, then I don't deserve a positive outcome. Does that kind of make sense? Did I?
Absolutely, because your self-confidence manifests blame, or it can manifest success. It's such a powerful tool. And that is why I'm so passionate about helping women realize that. And it also gave me the foundation of what I want this show to be about, because I know, again, my self-confidence issue came more from like body image issues. I grew up hearing, nicknamed bubble butt and thunder thighs. And, you tell that to a teenage girl and you're just decimated,
Yeah.
right? So I still see and hear that. But I realize that's my story, and that's going to resonate with a certain amount of women, where your story is going to resonate. And so that's why I wanted to get into some of that grit, because I know that these things happen. I haven't experienced that, but you have, and I can bring you forward and give you another opportunity to talk about it and have a positive effect on other women out there.
And I'll be honest, like, I don't typically I definitely don't talk about it with a crown and a sash, right? I don't often use my voice in that way on social media. But what I do with it is I took my story and I created a narrative to tell police officers to try to make a change. And so, I really want that to be a focus, because you don't have to sit in your story and have it be the way it is. You can take it and do something with it. That for me was really important. That story sharing, I think, is really valid and important, much like what you're doing, actually. And I think that is how we start to heal, when we can start to connect with people and say, yes, this happened to me, then I can make a change or a difference with it to make a more positive outcome.
But I know that there's a woman out there, hopefully she hears this video, that has had something like that happen to her, God forbid, and now she can hear your story and go, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I don't have to let that moment define me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I totally agree with you. I really hope for it as well. And that's why I continue to share it. And and during the same time, one of the things that you and I spoke about before was the bullying issue. And that never went away, because you talked about how with your self-image, those words still haunt you, essentially. And for me, that idea that the color of my skin is so offensive to someone is very scary. And, I've been called tons of things. I was in London doing a study abroad in 2005 when there was a bombing. And so I was called names on the street. People thought that because I can look a little either Indian or I can look Colombian, and no one really knows what I am. So I was getting called horrible names. People saying things like, yo, hey, Mexican, come here, Mexican, when I'm just sitting at dinner with a friend in a random Buffalo Wild Wings, getting called the N-word as a young adult. I mean, all of these things sit there in your mind, and you think every time someone looks at me, they think something negative about the color of my skin. That, is something that I want people to hear. I want another little young brown girl, Hispanic or Indian or whatever, to know that their story is valid as well, and that those things can be overcame, essentially.
Mm-hmm. So what else would you share with women out there? So, you talked about, your tip number one was, kind of kindness. Kindness kind of takes courage, right? It puts you out there. What other tools would you arm someone in their toolbox to help build their self-confidence if they've gone through a similar journey as you with bullying, racism? Essentially, racism is what you've experienced. And then also, with the more personal issue of alcoholism and the assault, what other tools would you arm a woman with to help pull her out of that experience and build herself back up?
Yeah. So I do believe that confidence is an activity. Like you have to actively be working towards confidence. And so definitely knowing that not only is kindness vulnerable, but it's a choice. And so that you can go towards that, but then having a voice, sharing your voice and using that in a positive way. I think that is definitely a way of taking ownership of the struggles that you've gone through. And it doesn't have to be a huge platform. It could be sharing with a friend. It could be sharing with a professional. Maybe you're going and speaking with a therapist or taking that. And then finally, I think the third thing, and it kind of goes into mental health more, but breaking the stigma around your experiences. And so, breaking that stigma to say, I can't reach out for help. I can't be essentially seen as a role model, because that's the word we hear a lot in pageantry, right? Can't be seen as a role model if I have these bad things that have happened to me, and taking those things and really connecting with them and breaking the stigma. So I think that's kind of like a hodgepodge of things, but those were really the things that I really thought about after thinking about, like, what have I done to help to build my confidence? And it's an activity, like I said before, it's something that I'm continuously working on. It's a journey. There are days where I don't feel confident. I mean, during pageant week, the first day on Tuesday, I will tell you, I went to the gym and there I am, supposed to be on the elliptical, sitting on the floor on the phone with my pageant coach, crying because I felt like I wasn't good enough or that I didn't deserve to win. What if I went through this whole experience and I'm not the person that they wanted? Because someone had said to me, and it was not another contestant, it was no one, like, I just want to make that clear, but someone had said to me, no one wants a title holder who overthinks. And I'm like, that's all I do is overthink. That's literally what I do is overthink.
It was overthink.
I know, it was the weirdest statement, but for some reason on that day, it hit me hard. And so here I was, first day of the pageant, sitting at the gym on the floor, tears streaming down my face, feeling I wasn't good enough. And my confidence was really lacking. And so what I did was I reached out to someone that I could trust to talk about these feelings and help me build it back up. Because that's another part of it. Sometimes you have to rely on people, and you have to reach out for help.
And that's vulnerable. It is vulnerable, and especially I think you can relate to this. We know what the quote unquote stigma is behind pageantry to some degree. People either I think there's like kind of no happy medium with pageantry. People either like love it and think, oh my gosh, that's so cool, or they're like, what is that nonsense? So I think we as contestants, as title holders, are very, very aware of the stigma that's out there, and that's another reason why I kind of want to be out here and be like, no, you know what, we're actually pretty highly intelligent women, and we really do have a purpose, and it's not all about vanity. I mean, yes, we like the glitz and the glams and the beauty, but there is a lot more depth to us, to pageantry, than people know of, especially if they've never experienced it. And so in that pageant week, or it's very, very easy to start having like that comparison syndrome and really start self-sabotaging. And so I think you're right. You've got to be vulnerable and reach out and say, okay, you got to talk me off the proverbial ledge here, because I am completely spiraling, and it's my own self-sabotage. And I know that can be a very difficult place to come out of, whether you're in a pageant, or I see women doing it when they're going up for a promotion. They can self-sabotage their own skill and their own self-worth just by what they're telling themselves up here. And ladies, we've got to rely on what we know and believe about ourselves, and do exactly what Hannah says. Like when you get to that point, you've got to reach out. And I don't know if you heard, and this is going to take kind of a very sad turn, but actually I'll save that for another episode. No, I'm going to save that for another episode. So y'all have to come back and keep watching. Tell me one thing that you do to help your daughter. I know you have a little girl, and I'm a mom with a son and a daughter. What do you tell Mia to kind of keep her from some of that negative self-sabotage and self-tape? Because I see it happening even in our little girls.
Yeah, I will tell you, Mia is definitely a kid who beats her own drum. She's definitely very unique. She, and she's really pretty confident in that. And I don't know where that came from, but I'm trying with her. And so some of the things that we do, I mean, this sounds kind of silly. We don't say words like ugly, and we don't use words like fat. We just don't. That's some of the words that we've taken out of our vocabulary, because I don't think that those words need to be said in our household. Now, do I say it to myself? Probably, and I need to stop. So I'm not perfect. The other thing I make sure that Mia knows is that things like makeup, they're a choice, and they're a choice of self-expression. And I do it because I want to, and I don't do it to show anyone anything other than like, hey, this is my face with makeup. So just those little things that are really tangible. But then we talk a lot about our inside. It's more important to be kind than to do anything else. And Mia, sometimes I worry about her because she's very vulnerable, and she's very kind-hearted. And so there's a little girl who's been mean to her at school. And she said to me yesterday, she's like, I've been giving her compliments since yesterday so that maybe she'll be nicer, because maybe someone's mean to her at home. And I think that was my husband's doing, to be honest. I don't know, but it really it touched my heart. I was like, and so I don't know what I'm doing. Let me be honest. I don't know what I'm doing. She's a great girl, and I don't want her to change. Someone come take over before I ruin her. That's kind of how I am right now. But no, we talk openly about, like, she struggles with anxiety herself. She goes to play therapy and OT. And so those things I always tell her, you don't need to be ashamed of that. We talk openly about it. We talk openly about our feelings. I give her words that she can use, like anxiety or worried, or ways to describe how she's feeling. I think that's a really important tool to have. So hoping, I've been working on a project that I can bring to the grades K through 2 to help express feelings better. So
I love that. Tell me a little bit about NAMI. I know you're really passionate about it, and obviously now they have you working for them, which
yes.
is fabulous.
Yes. So NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We have chapters in every state, but we have over 650 local affiliates. And one of those is here in North Texas, and that's where I work. And so I started volunteering about 4 or 5 years ago. I learned about it through a pageant girl who was also a mental health advocate. When I decided that I wanted to advocate for mental health and start sharing my story, and I did so very suddenly, like one night on Facebook, put it out there, and it's like, boom, hit send, and freaked out for a couple weeks. But then I decided I wanted to advocate for mental health. Learned about it through someone named Elise Banks, who you would know as Miss International.
Yes, Elise.
Yeah, and I didn't know her personally. Like I heard about her through a friend. So that's just the power of of pageantry and talking about things.
And women,
So
that's the power of women.
women, yeah.
You know, that's like I've met more women, not even just through pageantry, just through womanhood. I'm like, oh wow, you're a rock star. I need to know you. I need to know you, and I need you in my community. Like powerful women, they come in all different shapes, sizes, professions, and I love it. I love it. I
Yeah,
think it's we gotta stick together, ladies.
we really do. And it's been really, I mean, being at NAMI has been really great. I mean, we're a mental health organization. We provide free resources, free support groups, free classes, 6 8-week classes for people who are living with a mental health condition as well as their families. And so I really believe in their mission. My favorite part about it is our Ending the Silence presentations, because we get to go into schools and talk with students, which I love as a former teacher. I love anytime I get to speak to students and not have to grade their papers because that's a lot of work. So I love being a part of it. My job title is outreach coordinator and Ending the Silence coordinator. So yeah, they didn't, I wouldn't say they wrote me into a job. I pretty much clung to the place till they gave me a job. I was there all the time. They're like, we just got to get this woman a desk and just sit her down. So I've been there for a while and I really love it. And I'm constantly looking for ways to provide mental health education to the community. I think education is key to breaking stigma, to getting help, to connecting everything.
So as we wrap up, I just want to throw in there, if anybody's watching and they have any questions for Hannah or anything about NAMI, please put it in the comment section. And if we don't answer it live, we will definitely get to it. I'll also in the comment section put all NAMI information for anyone that is in need of a resource or support with mental health. Hannah, is there any, I guess, last words of wisdom as our IGM International Ms. Winner? Like, is there any just last final thoughts that you want to share with our I was gonna say our crowd. I just lost my train of thought, but you know what I'm saying, with our viewers.
Yeah, I think that I think I had a thought before, when you were going through I was like, oh yeah, I have a really great thought, and then I forgot it. But I think two things. One, if we're talking specifically pageants, and I know this is geared for everyone, so I want you to take this as you can and apply it to your situation. If you go into there just wanting to win or just wanting to get something grand out of that experience, you're going to miss out on a lot of great opportunities along the way. A lot of friends, a lot of people on the journey. And so, yes, always go in there wanting to do your absolute best, and winning would be really, really great. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that vulnerability is really, 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 really hard, but it's also the thing that can help connect us to people. that may be in our lives forever. And it will help connect us to opportunities that may be the things that make you, that turn your life around. I never expected to work at a nonprofit, and I never expected to work in mental health, but I was willing to be vulnerable. I fell in love with it, and I found my home at NAMI. And I found through that opportunities with other organizations like To Be Like Me. And I still have a connection with a National Brain Tumor Society. So all of those things are really important to me. So vulnerability, finally, my final thing is vulnerability is something that is very, very hard, but I think it's really important in order to connect with the world.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, you do have to put yourself out there to be able to receive the, you know, the world's gifts. And it's hard, you know, because, you know, getting hurt and quote unquote being judged and all of that. But quite honestly, you know, the only person that's really judging you is you. And of course, if you are a person of faith, regardless of which one, you know, your maker, that's about the only other person, you know, only other thing that is truly judging you. And so I am so grateful for your time today, Hannah. I know you have a 10 o'clock appointment, and it took us a few minutes to get on because I'm technologically not savvy, but I'm working on it.
You did great.
I'm super excited about next week's guest. It's going to be I believe it's 2020 Mrs. United States, Lindsay Clausen, and she's going to be sharing her story of her battles with infertility and going through that experience with her husband. And so for any of you ladies that are going through that journey and really want to look to someone who's experienced it and has some amazing words of wisdom, please join me next week. I'll put in the comments when we're meeting because I don't have set dates and times yet, but we're getting there. I'm just going to check in the comment section, just a few compliments in there. Thanks, ladies, for joining us. Renee, Amanda, thank you so much for your comments. Any last words, Hannah?
No, just a fun fact that I met you and Lindsay at the same time. That's it. So,
that's true.
yeah,
It was all through the international program, right?
I think it was actually United States.
Could have been.
When Raquel.
You know what? Right. You're right. We might have, the first way down south. I think that was down in like Houston or San Antonio. So anyway, for our viewers out there, this is Hannah Bott, and sharing her story with you know, mental illness and bullying, and she definitely has the resources and tools to be able to guide you in the right direction through NAMI. Hannah, thank you so much for joining me this morning. To any of our viewers out there, thank you so much for listening in live. You can obviously catch the repeat and stay tuned next week for another episode of The C.R.O.W.N Effect, Creating Success Through Self-Confidence with my guest, Lindsay Clausen, Mrs. United States 2020, and she'll be sharing her story of marriage and infertility. All right, y'all have a fabulous day.
Thanks for having me.
All right, have a great day, guys, and we'll see you next week. And I don't know how to end this.
I'm gonna leave meeting, so I think that's
Clausen, Mrs. United States 2020, and she'll be sharing her story. I've got to just bye.